Welcome. My name's Nick. Let's do some yoga. Today, we're going to be doing an active recovery sequence for the upper body. This is a good choice if you are in between more intense workouts or if you're working on building mobility in the chest and the shoulders. Like always, we'll go over the whole sequence, all of the modifications and alignments first, and then we'll dive right into it. But before we do, if you like this class and you want to see more like it, don't forget to like and subscribe before we get started. All right, so let's get to it. We're going to need probably just a strap, although if you have sensitive knees, you might also like to use a blanket or a cushion or something to put your knees on. We're going to begin warming up with the chest and the shoulders. Take hold of your strap. The closer you grab, the more intense the stretch is going to be. The farther away your hands, the easier it's going to be. With straight elbows, begin to floss back and forth between the shoulders, adjusting your hands closer or farther apart as needed. After that, we'll warm up the wrists by squeezing the hands on and off. We'll go for about 30 seconds and then shake them out for about 30 seconds. After that brief warm-up, we're going to come onto our hands and our knees, moving in between a table pose and a child's pose. Start in child's pose to find your range. Reach your hands out as far away as you can. Keep your hands and your feet more or less where they are as you move back and forth between table pose and child's pose. As you're moving back and forth, think about the rotation at the shoulder joint. If you can imagine trying to point the bony part of your elbow straight back behind you, so the soft part of your elbow points forward. Keep that alignment. You'll feel a deeper stretch in the muscles underneath the armpit as you pull back into child's pose. We'll go through that about 5 times. You're welcome to repeat that another 5 times, or we'll make the same transition in the shoulders with the legs straight. So plank pose and downward facing dog. Don't worry too much about what the feet are doing in downward facing dog. Think mostly about that same engagement we had, soft part of the elbow pointing forward, stretch back. It's definitely fine to bend the knees, to lift the tailbone up higher in downward facing dog. Keep the back of the neck long. Keep the same shoulder rotation between plank pose and back to dog. Again, we'll repeat this about 5 times, although you're welcome to repeat the table pose and child's pose transition. Right after that, we'll come back to table pose. I'm not going to continue to mention the rotation of the shoulder, but continue to practice it. From table pose, step one leg back. We're going to twist into a side plank and then come back table pose, thread the arm through, drop the shoulder to the floor, drop the ear to the floor, and then all of the way back up, step back, open the chest into side plank. Focus here on what's happening at the shoulder joint. The tendency is as you lift up into side plank, the shoulder likes to rotate forward. Try to avoid letting that happen. Maintain lateral rotation at the shoulder as you lift into side plank and all the way back down into a twist. We'll practice this and then lower down either with the legs straight or with the knees on the ground all the way to the ground. Point the toes, bring the tops of the feet to the floor, set up for cobra pose. Pull the shoulders back, lift the chest up off of the ground, not by pushing into the hands, keep the hands light on the floor, lift up, lengthen using the strength in the back. We'll lift up and hold here for about 5 breaths, though more important to keep your breath even and steady. After holding cobra pose, plant the palms under the shoulders, either knees on the ground or legs straight. Push up into the top of a push-up, lifting the chest and the hips together as much as you can, only one push-up, and press back into downward facing dog. We'll hold, pause, reset the breath, Then come back onto your hands and your knees. Again, if you have sensitive knees, this is a good place to put a cushion underneath your knees. Right arm, left leg. Reach the left leg back, reach the right arm forward. Keep the core tight. So if you can imagine pulling the belly in, so you're sending your tailbone back, not so much that you're rounding your spine, but keep your spine and your hips as neutral as possible. Hold, lift up on the inhale, pull the elbow in, tight to the core. On the exhale, we'll do this 5 times. And then again, lower all the way down, back to the floor. Instead, cobra pose here. Set your arms alongside your body. Keep the back of your neck long. Lift the chest, lift the legs. Again, we'll hold here about 5 breaths, however long that is for you. Lower back down. Again, pushing back up with the legs straight or with the knees on the ground. Back up, chest and hips together into the top of a plank and press back into downward facing dog. Again, we'll take a moment, reset the breath, and then come back to table pose. This time, curl over your toes enough that you can lift and hold, hovering the knees off the ground. Now, doing just this much is totally fine. You're welcome to stay here. Or holding your knees off the ground, stabilize through your core. Reach, right hand, left shoulder, back down, left hand, right shoulder. We'll go for about 5 taps each side. And then, again, lowering all the way back down, legs straight, or knees on the floor, slowly, chest and hips touching the ground together. So, I'll mention, you're welcome to practice any of these back bends again. So, if reaching back and grabbing your ankles isn't going to work for you today, totally fine. To repeat, Salabhasana, lift the chest and legs together, or Cobra pose. You can practice Cobra pose for every single back bend. It's totally fine. After holding on to your ankles, lifting your chest, lifting the legs. Again, we'll hold for about 5 breaths. Release, set back down, push back up. Again, hips and chest together. Back, reset, downward facing dog. Again, onto the hands and the knees. Curl over the toes. Lift the knees off the ground. Totally fine. Stay here, holding the knees off the ground. That's great. Or stabilize through the core. Practice one leg back at a time. And back down. Opposite leg and back down. Again, we'll go for about 5 times each side. Set up again. Lower down. Your choice of back bend, repeat the previous, or reach your hand out to the side, lift the opposite leg, twist. As you twist, reach your right hand out to the right. So I'm reaching my left leg back behind my right leg, and I'm opening up as much as I can across the chest. So we'll hold the twist, about 5 breaths, come back through center, and back up. After that, last round, press back into child's pose instead of downward facing dog, and we'll end in child's pose. So for those rounds where we're working on left and right sides, we'll do twice. Other than that, that's what's on the menu today. Let's jump into it. All right, begin in a comfortable sitting pose or kneeling pose, whatever that is going to be for you today. You're welcome to use as many props and blocks as you need to lift your hips up high enough so that you can have a long and straight spine. Give yourself a few moments to arrive and focus on your breath. Center your breath. Exhale fully. And inhale deeply. If at any point the breath becomes unsteady, that will be a sign to back off, do less, take a break, whatever pose is restful for you, child's pose or sitting pose. Rest, breathe, and then come back to join us. Pause here, close your eyes, take about 5 breaths to begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Grab your strap, floss back and forth between the shoulders. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Set your strap aside. Reach your hands out to the side. Make fists. Squeeze on and off. Almost there. Keep breathing. And shake. Shake your hands out. All right, very good. Feeling warmed up in the shoulders now. Come find a table pose. Begin in child's pose. Find your range. 5 times back and forth. Inhale forward. And exhale back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Repeat 5 more times or straighten your legs back and forth. Plank pose and downward facing dog. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back down, table pose. From table pose, side plank. Inhale. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Table pose again. Lower down all the way to the floor, legs straight or knees on the ground. Cobra pose. Lift and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Push back up and back, downward facing dog. Take 5 breaths in downward facing dog. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back down, table pose. Same thing, side plank on the other side. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Plank pose again. Lower down to the floor. And cobra pose, lift and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back down. Push up, top of the push-up. And back into downward facing dog. 5 more breaths. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back on the table pose. Right hand, left leg. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze. Again, inhale. Exhale, squeeze. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And back down. Legs straight or knees on the ground, lower to the floor. Repeat cobra pose again, or arms alongside the body. Salavasana, lift and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Push back up and back. Hold, breathe. Downward facing dog. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back into table pose. Same thing on the other side. Left arm, right leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back down. Lower to the floor. Salabhasana again. Chest up, legs up. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back down, push back up. Press back into downward facing dog. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All of the way back down. Curl over the toes, lift the knees. Pause, hold here just as much, or stabilize and tap the shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lower down with control. Dhanurasana, bend your knees. Reach back and grab your ankles. Lift and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Push up and back. Downward facing dog. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back down. Again, curl over your toes. Lift your knees. Hold and hover. Or alternating left and right legs. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Drop your knees down. Lower down with control. Reach your right hand out to the side. Curl over. Broaden and open the right chest. 5 full breaths here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Roll back. Now, you're going to change sides. I'm going to flip over so I can face the other direction. Same thing on the other side. 5, 4, 3, 2, And 1. Roll back, palms under the shoulders, push up and back. Drop your knees down to the ground and stretch out in a child's pose. 5 breaths here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. If you're done with practice, roll onto your back. Enjoy a nice Shavasana. If you're continuing with practice, then get to it.